It's time to cash in on overperforming players such as Perdomo and try to acquire players that are just off to a slow start, such as Jackson Churio. I got that and more on today's action packed episode of Locked On Fantasy Baseball.
You are Locked On Fantasy Baseball, your daily fantasy baseball podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, fantasy baseball fanatics, and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Baseball podcast brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. As always, we are number one source for fantasy baseball knowledge, and thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. I'm your host, Matthew Ane. If you're watching on YouTube, please hit that bell below and subscribe to the channel and give you a notification every time we drop a new episode. And also, if you're if you're listening on Apple, Spotify, or wherever that is, please make sure to leave us a 5-star rating and review wherever you're listening. And also get yourself a subscription as well there because you don't want to miss a beat. So head on over there, and also to do us a favor, check out and become a member of the Insider Track. It gets you a whole bunch more than what we offer in this 30-minute podcast. Stay tuned for more details later in the show, but let's get into it. I'm done advertising for the moment. I want to talk about fantasy baseball, and this is the perfect time of the year and a perfect episode to help improve your team while also getting players off that don't have off your team that don't have long-term value, right? So we're going to go and try and acquire players that are underperforming, or I think that we can actually obtain, that normally aren't guys that you can go out and acquire, and move on from other players. And we're going to start off with a guy the first half. Well, we're going to start off with the top half of the show talking about 5 players that essentially I want to trade for. Then I got the second half of the show, 5 players I definitely want to cash in and trade away. So let's get into it. Let's talk about it. And the first guy, like I mentioned up at the top, is Jackson Churio of the Milwaukee Brewers, playing outfield and, quite honestly, off to a slow start. Season numbers of 30 runs, 8 bombs, 28 ribs, 9 stolen bases, batting a lovely, unfortunately, 246. Look, normally I wouldn't mind the start if it wasn't for the fact that the home run pace is definitely not what he had last year. The ribbies and runs are kind of on the bordering concerning, and the batting average is also concerning at this point. Over the last month, 9 runs, 2 bombs, 5 ribs, 7 stolen bases, batting 211. Over the last 2, batting 200. And even though this week is a little bit more encouraging with 5 runs, a bomb, 3 ribs, a stolen base, batting 310, I still don't like it. I still don't like what he's doing. But here's the deal. We're going to bank on the talent. We're not going to focus on what's going on under the hood. We're not going to focus on what's on the stat sheet. We're going to focus on the talent and what Jackson Churio brings to the table, right? Jackson Churio, as a prospect, was a guy that stole bases and showed off power. And last year, even in his short little time up in the bigs, well, not short, he pretty much played a full season. It was impressive for a rookie year with the 21 bombs, 79 ribs, 22 stolen bases, batting 275. The fact that we're nowhere near that is concerning for me. The pace is definitely not that, unfortunately. But hey, there's still time to turn it around, which I believe he will. In the minors, he's had seasons where he hit 21 home runs, where he hit 22 home runs, and then he had seasons where he stole 44 stolen bases. So I think there's better days to come in terms of speed. I think there's better days to come along with power. Even batting average, things like that. Everything is going to kind of come full circle. Who knows? Maybe he's just a legit slow starter, and we just don't know that about him because it's only his second year in the bigs. So I'm willing to take the bet and go out and try and acquire him. People are definitely frustrated, but he's going to take a little bit to get them off their team. You're going to have to pay somewhat of a premium, but not the cost that would be if he was performing up to expectation and up to draft price. And that is the key part. Normally, he was going middle to end of the second to the beginning of the third round, depending on ADP and league size and things like that. And Churio would be pretty much untouchable, but now with the underperformance, the slow start, he's definitely somebody you can trade for and give up maybe a 5th round talent or a player you're not really, too attached to, that is performing decently and be able to pair him with a guy that's later in the show and be able to snag him on the cheap. And that's the key part, getting that value and upgrading his parts, right? Getting an outfielder right now is pretty tough. We lost guys this year, and you know what? We're still waiting for some players to come back, so it might be the right time to pounce. So we'll see. This might be our last buy low window, but we'll see. Let's move on. Let's talk about Austin Riley of the, Atlanta Braves, playing base. I don't know why I was about to say brace, but yeah, third base. And Austin Riley is also off to another slow start, and having another down year. But I don't think this is the whole story. Last year was ugly. He only finished with eight. We call it 19 home runs to 425 at bats with 56 runs, 63 runs, 56 ribs, and batted 256. This year, I definitely a better pace with 213 at bats, 26 runs, 8 bombs, 28 ribs, 2 stolen bases, batting 272. Like the batting average, the month hasn't been atrocious, but hasn't been great. 14 runs, 2 bombs, 10 ribs, 2 stolen bases, batting 255, but no home runs over the last 2 weeks. He's batting 111 over the last week with 3 runs, and he's only managed to put 7 runs together and 3 ribs through 2 weeks, and he's batting 227 over 2 weeks. Things aren't looking wonderful in those regards, but let's look under the hood when it comes to Riley, and that's where it's more encouraging, where I'm going to bank on the talent and kind of get last year out of my mind and try and acquire him on the cheap this year. Look, his ex-WOBA is sitting at 345. His expected batting average is 264, which is significantly better than well, not significantly better, but up there with the batting average of 272. So not better, but on par. The X slug is a 484. The average exit velocity is sitting 92.5 miles an hour. He's barreling 15.5% of the time, creating hard contact over 50% of the time. The sweet launch angle is looking beautiful, and the bat speed is always good. Now, yeah, he's chasing a lot. He's striking out a lot. He's not really walking, but I think he's just trying to beat the slump and trying to get a slump buster done where he just turns it around and is just awesome. And that's the key part, is being able to just turn it around. I think it's coming. We're seeing better power numbers with the 8 home runs right now through the 213 at bats. And you know what? You double it, that's like 16. We still got another 100 bats to go. So you're looking at like 24-ish if you really think about it. Maybe 20, but I don't think that's the true pace. I think there's going to be more. The dude has 30 to 35 home run upside. I can't wait to see it. I think that we're going to have a strong second half when it comes to Austin Riley. So I'm trying to go out there, trying to acquire. The team is definitely going to be a better situation now that Ronald Acuña is back in the lineup. Austin Riley is going to benefit. So I'm going out there and 100% trying to acquire him. Let's move on. So about Spencer Strider, who is coming off of, the Tommy Johns, also coming off the IL again for, issues. I forgot what it was, but he's now returned and has his first start against the Phillies since coming back, I believe. No, I apologize. Second start back from that injury. Got lit up in his first start out against Washington, posted an 8.31 ERA with a 1.62 whip through 4. And then finally he handled the Phillies nice with, 4.5 innings, 7 Ks, a 1.93 ERA with a 1.07 whip. Much better. And, Strider is awesome, but what does his future look like? And this is the conversation you're having with the owner right now. Is he going to be on a pitch count, etc.? Like, are they going to let him go deep into games? Right now, he hasn't gone past 5 innings, especially these last two. Hasn't even broke 5 innings. One mess up and you mess up your whole ERA, things like that. You're still going to be dealing with control issues. Whip's going to be high this year. Yeah, that's all great, fine and dandy. Us on the other side trying to acquire him, I'm like, yo, Spencer Strider, he's going to be fantastic once he figures it out. Look, even if I got to deal with a bad month, I'm going to do it. Now he is going to cost a little bit of a penny. You're not just going to be able to take him off and say, "Oh yeah, here's a Perdomo," and you're going to be able to get him right now. It's going to take a little bit of a cost. There's a guy later in the show that you might be able to do, Jacob deGrom. He's just a little hint on what's coming up later in the show. So you might be able to trade him for Spencer Strider. Kind of figure out a deal. You might have to give a little bit more, but you also might be able to get a little something else. So just a give and take, trying to make deals, and we'll go from there. But I think Spencer Strider is somebody you should try and target, not pay a premium, but try and acquire and get him, because he's one of those players where I said he might be easier to just trade for in season than draft and pay the high draft price and miss out on other talent. So let's do that now. and see what we can go get before he really starts breaking out in his next start. So this is that short window where we can do it. Coming up next, we got guys like Shota Imanaga and Mike Trout, guys that we probably should be trying to trade for, and I'm going to tell you that all coming up next. And ever check your bank account and wonder where did all my money go? Every week. Between dining out, online shopping, entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control of your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it is a complete financial companion command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place so you can just stop managing your money and start building wealth. When I first started using Monarch Money, I realized just how much I spent on food delivery. Still do, unfortunately, but now I'm just smarter about it. And when I can't afford it, I can't afford it. Also, managing money with my partner, my wife, is smoother and even easier when we have all our shared personal accounts and we could set goals and all have it on the same page. So it takes out the stress and the fighting, which, you're married, things happen, money. I want to buy something off Amazon. We don't have it. I don't understand. Now she can understand, right? Just makes life easier, right? Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code locked on MLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com. Use the code locked on MLB for half off your first year. Like I briefly mentioned it at the top of the show, get into the insider track. We can only offer so much in 30-minute podcast. So you're going to want to see what you can get out of it. We offer prospect call up notifications, which are faster than most places. We offer, you know, being able to answer some questions. You get a response in 24 hours. You get rankings for the waiver wire episodes, who to prioritize. Also, you get key stats that we think should be highlighted from every episode, making it so you never miss a beat. So check us out. The link's in the description below. You get a free 2 weeks. All right, let's get back into baseball. And as I promised, Shoto Imanaga of the Chicago Cubs, starting pitcher. And Imanaga obviously is on the IL right now, both him and the next guy, but does not mean you should not go out there and try to trade for him. It's actually the best time to do it. Look, he's dealing with a hamstring injury. He's expected to throw a bullpen session today, which you're listening on Wednesday, so yesterday. And he's progressing nicely through the recovery through his left hamstring strain. He's about ready to get back on the mound for the first time. Still several weeks away, minimum potential for the Cubs rotation, but nice to hear he's at least moving through in the right direction. So it really seems like middle to end of June, and if it's more towards the end of June, might be after the All-Star break. Now, hopefully he's on a team that is struggling. Lost some injuries or just the pitching isn't performing the well, and Imanaga was the bright spot, and now he's hurt. So now what you're going to try and do is try and trade a player, cough, deGrom, and get something else in return besides just Imanaga and try and fill their void as long as you're in a position to do that and be patient and then get Imanaga in the second half and get an awesome pitcher. Whereas, Jacob deGrom might be done for the season or for a good chunk of time because that's what he does. We'll get into that later on the show. So kind of just a matter of manipulating and filling holes, but also getting guys that I think are going to contribute. So Imanaga's a guy I'm definitely going to try and trade for. The season numbers are pretty good: 44 innings pitched, 34 strikeouts, 3 wins, 2.82 batting ERA, and a 110 WHIP. Look, he is really good, and I think he can get back up to that K per inning like he had last year, but probably not have that overwhelming numbers where he's well past the K per inning. But the dude is so good. I need to trade for him. I need to get him on my team. So that's what I'm doing right now. I'm trying to go out there. I'm trying to make offers. I'm trying to get him on my team. And as long as I can be patient, I'm in a position to hold and stash. I'm going to do it. That's 100% how I'm going to handle that. Imanaga is a must trade for. Let's move on. Let's talk about Mike Trout, who's on his way back. And is maybe the worst time to bring up his name, but also not the worst at the same time. So yes, he's probably going to be back by the weekend. Good. Returning from that knee injury, the knee soreness after returning from a knee injury. And, you know, I think that even though he's having all these issues, just makes him more and more unattractive for the owner that has him. You spent a decent draft price, probably like sixth or seventh round. You passed on a lot of guys, which I did. I drafted him in a lot of places. He's not performing up the par that you would have expected from a guy that I think probably would be the best bat in baseball if he could just play well, not best bat, but up there, play a whole season. It just hasn't been coming to fruition. And it's clearly here. But here's why I say it's a buy window. He's not performing. He has a 179 batting average, only 2 stolen bases, 18 ribs on the season, 9 bombs, 14 ribs through 106 at bats. And a lot of his stats came in clusters. It didn't all come at once. So it's hard to just justify it. And it's hard for the owner to hold on to him for this long on the IL when he wasn't performing in the first place. And maybe they're thinking it's a down year. Fair point. Could be, but I'm not going to pay a lot. I'm going to get him at a discount. So I'm going to try and do that. Like there is teams out there that have Imanaga and Trout. I might try and snag both for deGrom and a small piece to fill their void and needs, take them both, and then I could slowly just grab them. I don't think it's a bad move. You know, Trout's going to be back this weekend, especially if he has a bad start, like bad couple games in a row. This is the perfect time to go out and acquire him. People might get annoyed enough to drop him, which would be stupid, and you're going to totally add him. But I'm 100% trying to acquire him as best as I can and not pay a good premium at all. So I'm not doing that. It's got to be cheap. It's got to be a guy that's overperforming, or I'm getting multiple studs for one dude. So we'll get into that later. But Mike Trout is a must trade for. Let's move on. Let's talk about Geraldo Perdomo of the Arizona Diamondbacks playing shortstop. And Perdomo is off to a nice start, I got to say. But I don't believe it. I don't think that he's going to sustain this. So far in the season, 26 runs, 6 bombs, 37 ribs, 11 stolen bases, batting 299. Look, he is great. He is performing well above expectation, and that's the key part. Let's get rid of it before he loses value. And let's do that real easily. Look, you can he's not going to be a guy that you're going to make him the focal point of the trade. He's a guy that you're going to look for a trade partner that doesn't have a shortstop because hopefully Perdomo isn't your starting shortstop, and he is more of your T bat, somebody you picked up as a backup for, maybe getting the Jackson Holidays or just insurance in general to have an extra one. Perdomo is somebody now that you can trade and get a nice return. Again, not the focal point, but somebody you can mix in and get the job done and definitely bring down the cost of the asset you're going to have to give up to get a player. Like trading for Austin Riley. You add him and a little bit more, like more, it gets it done. It makes the offer a lot more appealing. And you also give a couple tier down of a player to go out and acquire them. So Perdomo is somebody I'm definitely trying to move. I will need a little bit more insight into the trade partner to do it this way. Say, get up on the insider track and see if you can, you know, talk a trade with me, show me the team you're trying to trade over, show me your team. We'll try and figure it out. But it's a great way. Plus, you get free 2 weeks, so check it out and do it. Not mean to advertise, but talk about it with me. Let's see what we can do if you're a Perdomo owner. Let's see what kind of trade we can come up with. He's not gonna be a focal point. We're gonna do something though. But let's move on. Let's talk about Jacob deGrom of the Rangers. deGrom is pitching great right now. I got to say, he looks good. There's some things that we need to talk about when it comes to deGrom and why I am kind of like, hey, let's trade him. And you might think I'm crazy, but I'm not. I truly am not. And here's the reason why. Last time Jacob deGrom played a played over 100 innings, let's just put it that way, was 2019, where he pitched 204. The next highest is in 2021 at 92. Before and after that, it's been 64, 30, 10, and now 63. Even though he is pitching 63 innings and has 62 strikeouts with an ERA of 242 and a wonderful whip of 0.96, I just going to bank on history. If a guy hasn't pitched 100 innings in a while, probably not going to do it again. It's just physically impossible. Well, physically, the odds are not in your favor. So move him, trade him, try and get multiple stud assets. He is somebody that has a name value. He was getting drafted pretty high, even coming off Tommy John. Do it, trade him because the luck is the odds are on your side that he'll get hurt before he makes a serious impact on your team. So move him and trade for best value. This is the peak value. Trade him, and you won't regret it. Like I said, going out and trying to get Imanaga and something. Maybe it's both, like Trout and Imanaga. There is options. You will get a nice haul for deGrom. And Depending on what you're willing to add in there, if you have multiple of these guys, it doesn't hurt. You should just bring up your odds to upgrade your team. So move deGrom now. All right. Coming up next, we're going to finish this show off with Stowers, Ramos, and Ward. How I'm trying to handle trading them and taking advantage of their value of being able to get the job done. All coming up next. All right. Like I promised, more baseball. Let's talk about Kyle Stowers of the Miami Marlins playing outfield. Now, he is doing really well. I will say that. He has on the season 23 runs, 10 bombs, 31 ribs, batting 300 with 3 stolen bases. Even over the last month, 11 runs, 8 bombs, 16 ribs, a stolen base, batting 298, all through 108 innings in total bats. So, like, I'm digging it. And the batting average is there. And, my rule, batting average off the waiver wire is always a thing. He's only 71% owned. Those deeper leagues, though, those deep cuts, I'm trying to move them. And even in, these leagues where, I'm ready to just like the shower leagues, why not move him? There is a reason for it. Stowers is just not going to have the upside that he's actually distributing right now. Think about it. He plays for the Marlins. He has hit Marlins Park. There's not many guys around him. They're going to be able to bump it up. And yes, his power is showing. But what is going to come of that? What is going to come of that? I don't know. And even under the hood, everything looks good. I'm not discounting anything he's doing. Everything is good except for the fact of how often he chases, how often he whiffs, and how often he strikes out. So maybe that batting average isn't as sustainable as we thought. Because, last year he had 208 through 192 at bats. But I don't think that somebody does a serious course correction like that, especially with the strikeout numbers. Like he only walked 18 times to 56 strikeouts. This is a pattern that we're just seeing here. I just don't know if he's really got the chops to hit for the batting average. I'm definitely trying to sell high and trying to get the best price that humanly can. Now he's not a centerfold of a trade, but he's somebody that can push it over, makes it interesting, especially in those deeper leagues where it's harder to get players that are performing like this. Move them now. It definitely gets the job done, and you're able to fill it. Even if it's, hey, I traded him for a lowering guy, but it fills my holes. Stores the guy I picked off the waivers. I don't really need him, but I picked him up because he was hot. Boom, peace out. You capitalized on it. Waiver wire players don't also have to be just a guy that's on your team and that filling in holes. Guys could also turn them into better players that'll have more long-term value the next couple weeks. So I'm moving Stowers. I'm getting her done. And I'm going to see where this journey takes me because I definitely think I can get something. Not a whole lot, but something. Or I can make the trade get across the finish line by moving Stowers and attaching him to a trade. Let's move on. Let's go back Helios Romanos. So he plays for San Francisco Giants playing outfield. And, the season numbers are good. He's batting 281. He has, 27 ribs, 9 bombs, 3 stolen bases, has 34 runs, all through 199 at bats. Now, I like it. Now, what I will say this is I'm also not the biggest fan. Look, over the last week, he has 2 runs, a bomb, 3 ribs, batting 190. Over the last 2 weeks, batting 250 with 6 runs, 2 bombs, 8 ribs. The month stats are really nice, batting 341 on the month, but that's whatever. But like you start looking under the hood with Ramos, you're just like, I'm not really seeing it. He strikes out a boatload. He doesn't really walk. He chases. The hard hits are good at 44%. He's barreling at a decent rate. Average exit velocity is great, but you look at the dude's history and of what he's done over the last couple of years. And last year, yes, he's young. 475 at bats, 54 runs, 23 doubles, 3 triples, 22 bombs, 72 ribs, 6 stolen bases, batted 269. He's been trying to, make a crack at it, but he's just not a guy I'm truly believing in the talent, even though he's a younger dude. Not somebody I'm super excited to own. You know, he has shown power in the past, but not something that like I'm really thinking is going to really come to fruition full sense. So for me, I'm going to try and capitalize on it. And also, the team around him isn't that impressive either. That's going to help him drive up the counting stats, such as runs and ribs. So move him, stick him in a trade, and see if he can push the dial. That's what I'm doing. Ramos is just not a guy that I think has long-term value this year. Maybe in the future. Let's see. But right now, today, I'm moving on. And we'll just leave it at that. Let's move on to this last guy here. Taylor Ward of the LA Angels. So him playing outfield over there is nothing special. Doesn't really, get me hot and bothered for a guy, for a guy playing player in fantasy baseball. Like he's having a killer week. 8 runs, 2 bombs, 10 ribs, a stolen base, batting 385. He's 85% owned. And even over the last month, 18 runs, 9 bombs, 27 ribs, a stolen base, batting 245. We've seen this. We've seen this movie before. This is not even a sequel. It's like way past the trilogy. It's like okay. It's like okay, we're back at episode 1 of Star Wars because now we got to do a prequel. But like Taylor Ward really just goes on these stints of just amazingness and then completely falls off. So he's a player that is obviously not going to be a focal point of a trade, but he is somebody who could slide in there. Oh, look, you know what? Let me move him in there. Maybe they fix the upside, or maybe, hey, you just need somebody to fill their hole, and this might get her done. They just want to ride that wave. Put him in there. He's definitely something you definitely would trade. It definitely boosts, especially with the way he's been performing over the last month. It shows consistency, gives that person a little bit of excitement to have them on their team. These are just good things and good practices I do when it comes to making trades. You know, also too, it also helps if you call the guy or text them and like, yo, like this is what I'm thinking. Like, I got this guy, I see you're in this position. Think if I get this person off your hands, you can get these guys, and then we can kind of talk and you can make this and this, giving a narrative, talking about it in a light that's positive for them and negative for the guys you're trying to acquire usually goes a long way. As weird as it sounds, it works. And you could say I'm lying, or you could say, oh, I play with a bunch of noobs, but I promise you, it works with the best of us. And trying to convince somebody is half the job. You got to be a salesman just as much as a good deal maker. And that's what you do here in fantasy baseball. You try and trade, you spin a narrative, and you try to do what you got to do. So I'm trading Taylor Ward, and I'm going to try and get him as a piece and get that trade over the deadline and not pay a premium. So that is what I'm doing. But guys, thank you for hanging out. Thank you for doing this. And just if you stuck around this long, sorry if there was a couple little things. This is my second go. Tried to record a little bit earlier, and unfortunately, everything was muted. So that was fun. This is number take 2, but I'm still rocking, still rolling, and I love it. So I did it twice. But you know, thanks for hanging out. Thanks for doing so. Please like, subscribe, comment, rate, and review, and do everything you can to share the show. When you're done, check out our boy Soli over at Locked On MLB to give you great real MLB coverage. With that being said, guys, have a great rest of your day. Peace.